Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, which one of you is Moses in game? Oh, I totally took your spot then. My bad. Here, do you mind if we switch then? Okay, how do I do that? Okay. Okay. There you go. Right. And then you'll have to change your character to raise.
So a lot of you were playing up really close to the smoke. I under the assumption that you're waiting for it to go down. But there's really no need to force that, especially when they're dumping a lot of util. It's a lot easier to maybe just leave one or two just to keep presence, so they still think you're there, get them to waste their util, and have the rest go another place. That being said, typically you want to be spread out from the start of the match. One particular thing that I noticed was Chamber, you weren't placing your trip like before the round started. Wait, I thought I put match timer pause.
Match timer pause, yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of depends where you're going to be playing as Chamber, what site you want to hit, where you want to put your trip on this map. So if you're going C and you're pretty dedicated on that, you're going to want to place your trip somewhere right here, so they can't get around it. Alternatively, you won't. If you're going to be going A, place your trip around here, so they can't get around it. Even if you're going B, you probably want it over here. A is a common flank. A lot of people don't push long because it's relatively difficult to do so because it's just one long angle.
Sorry, Coach, could you ping where you said that you wanted the trip again? I play Chamber a lot.
Oh, I have to. You won't be able to see my ping, so I'll shoot.
Oh shit, you're right. You're right.
If you're going A, honestly, it's really safe to put it in here. But if you want a little bit of an early notice,
yeah, I usually put it around.
Yeah, that works too. Just so they can't get around it.
Because they could push out of mid or as well as long, which is why I tend to cover it here.
Yeah, that's a kind of a general tip for Sentinels. People like Cypher, Killjoy, and Chamber. If you have something covering flank, don't stress too much about hiding it so it gets them. The main goal of having this utility is to know if someone's on flank. You don't necessarily need to hit them, you just need to have the information that they're there. So it's completely okay to put your chamber trips like out in the middle, but I mean, if you're able to put in a safe spot that covers a large area, go for it. So for this specific comp, when you're running a default, you want to have the duelists together. It's always smart to have the duelists together, because they're aggressive and they're able to play off of each other in their aggressive util to get these picks that you need for your team. Alternatively, this goes for a lot of initiators because a lot of them have flashes. You want to have pairs and make sure each pair has a flash. Depending on the map, most of the time you're going to have 2 pairs and then 1 solo. In this case, like it really varies from team comp, so you're going to have to think about it. But you want the lone player to probably be a sentinel. On attack, it's kind of the sentinel's job, typically, to be the lurker. I would mention Cypher, but Cypher's not a good place in the meta, so there's really no reason to play him. Cypher is a really good lurker, though.
Yeah, no, he is.
One thing is when you're lurking as this sentinel, don't be over-aggressive. Your job is to pretty much hit that really late push once your team is committed to a site when the enemies aren't going to expect you to be lurking. If you get caught early, you're going to end up with a lot of dead util on your team, and you're not going to be able to cover that flank because typically, you know, the sentinels are either Killjoy, Chamber, or Sage. Cypher's pretty much useless right now in the meta. Sage is okay to die as, kind of, because her util doesn't really watch flank. But that's an important thing to note is how you're going to want to play as your agent. So I noticed this out of a couple of you. Brimstone, you were playing really aggressive. And if you're to die, that you lose smokes for your team. And this can be said for any support agent. If you die, you don't have that util for your team. That's why you want your duelists to be the playmakers, because their utility is inherently selfish. So if you die, you're not going to be like, your team's not going to be missing out on much other than just pure firepower. So for this comp specifically, wait, is everyone dead right now, or do we have auto respawn on?
We have auto respawn on.
Just making sure. The scoreboard says there's only 4.
No, yeah, I died.
Oh, word?
And oh, there you go. I'm back.
Okay, perfect. So for this comp, you only have 1 flash, which is a little unfortunate, but that's fine. We can work with that. So I would say it's tough. It's a lot to go over and it's a lot to think about. A lot of this just comes with time. But when you're running a default, in this case, I would probably say send Fade and KO C-Long, have Raze and Brimstone take A control, or at least A lobby control, and then have Chamber kind of anchoring around a grass area, making sure no one pushes out of grass or garage. And with that, you can kind of get a feel. When you're running the default, you don't want to use too much utility because your goal is to figure out where the enemy is and to burn out their utility. So when the time comes to actually hit a site, you'll have a larger advantage than your opponent.
Ayo.
So C-Long, I would probably, just as part of the default, have KO or Fade. Just throw their util on C-side somewhere, just to get an idea of where they're playing, and it will feign presence, and no doubt the enemy team's probably going to throw util back. So it's... yeah, because that's when you're going to start committing a little bit too much, and once you're in this long area, you become really easy to pick off, especially if you don't have your whole team with you to trade you. So... you guys called a timeout during the tournament, and that's when I started telling you, hey, like, you guys gotta stop bunching up, you gotta run a default, you gotta play safe. And you guys did that, but it's tough because you were playing too safe. When you're running the default, you want to get space. You want to contest these areas, but you don't want to over-aggress. So imagine it's pre-round. There's those spaces where neither team can get to, right? So in the case of Haven, it's C-Long, where Orb is. On A, it's A-Long in lobby. And then B, it's grass and garage area. When you're taking a default, you want to aggress onto this untaken space that nobody has. And play safe from there. You don't want to aggress onto their territory. Because if you can get control of this, of like the space that is unavailable during pre-round, that takes a lot away from the attackers. And having that control lets you know that they're not there, so you're having a lot easier time knowing where they are. Knowing where the enemy isn't really helps pinpoint to know where the enemy is. So by taking away that space, you're getting a lot for your team. And that's kind of the purpose of the default. once the round goes on, I can't specifically tell you where you want to play out the default because it's going to vary round to round on where you can find picks, where a lot of utils being used, and where you see certain agents. So typically you're not going to want to run into the Sentinel site because they're really good at slowing down. You don't want to run into a Viper because her wall and her orb are really, really dangerous. That's kind of when you're going to want to like, okay, let's regroup and let's hit this site with all of our util. They've already burned out some of their stuff. Let's see, what else from there? I'm kind of bummed out I didn't get to see you guys play a lot on defense. Dang, Raze is in here. Do you guys have any questions so far?
Sorry, could you clarify what a default is again? I don't know if you said it earlier. Sorry.
Yeah, so a default is basically, it's called a default because it's the default way you want to play out rounds. You're pretty much gaining space on the map, trying to figure out where your opponents are, while simultaneously trying to take away their util. Because you're going to show presence somewhere, they're going to think, okay, they're here, so let's throw some util to slow them down. You spread across the map and do that across all sites, and you're going to be getting a lot of util from the opponent, from the opposing team. That's the purpose of default.
Yeah, no, every time I hear the word default, I usually always assume default location on like a spike, like on spike plants.
Oh yeah, like planting
Yeah,
default.
so those terms are mixed up very easily, clearly.
No worries. So yeah, typically you're like, hey, let's run a default, and that'll be like, okay, we're gonna that's the play for the round. Other than like, hey, plant a default. It's all contextual. That being said, defaulting takes place probably the first like minute 15 seconds of a round. Once you get to around like 45 seconds left in the round, that's kind of when you're going to want to make a decision of where you want to show. That being said, this is where a lurker is going to come into play, or people like Chamber are going to be really strong. Because as soon as the clock gets low enough, and like 2 or 3 people show on the map, that's when the opposing team is going to know, okay, they're probably going to hit this site, let's rotate. The benefit of having a Chamber, or other people who can just like move fast, maybe like a Yoru, is they can show presence on one side of the map with low time left, and the enemy team is going to overreact off of that and be like, okay, they're going to hit this site, and then either Yoru or Chamber can TP out, and your team can full hit the other site, and they're going to be weak. Another thing that I noticed a lot of is, it was unfortunate because you were playing into like, I think it was like a plat diamond team. So, you weren't, it was tough to win these rounds, and because of that, a lot of you were saving frequently. And on that subject, you guys were buying like Spectres, Stingers, whatever, which is fine. Those weapons have their place, especially on like these eco rounds. But I noticed a lot of you were taking these really long gunfights with these weapons. One thing to keep in mind when you're playing is what weapon you have and what weapon your opponent has. Let me turn off restriction for shopping. So, Stinger. Each weapon has an effective range, right? Everyone knows, like, okay, like from a certain distance, Phantom's gonna hit somebody in the head. And that feels bad all the time. That's a part of the effective range of the weapon. That's why a lot of people like Vandal, because its effective range is pretty much infinite. There's no damage drop off. For a lot of eco weapons like Spectre, Stinger, and a lot of the pistols, there's a really significant damage drop off. And I saw a lot of people peeking really, really long angles with like a Stinger. And on these ecos, that's when you want to play the smartest. That's when you want to play the slowest. A lot of people have this misconception of like, okay, it's an eco, let's just all hit a site, hit him with numbers, and try to win. You can do that, and you play that to mix things up, especially if there's a weaker site or it's a close quarters map. But typically an eco is when you want to play the smartest. You want to do as much damage to the enemy team as you can economically, and hopefully pick up some of their weapons to maybe try to clutch the round out for your team. So when you're playing with these like eco weapons, you want to keep in mind your effective range and your effective like kill distance. You want to play these close angles. You want to try to push up slowly, take these safe gunfights, because you want to be able to take them out with relative ease. from a long distance, if I'm going into a Vandal and I have a Stinger, they're gonna win that like 99 times out of 100. However, if I play like a close rat angle and they're playing aggressive, then I kind of like narrow the disadvantage that I have, because at this close distance, the Stinger and the Spectre have really, really good DPS, and if you can hit them in the head, like they're pretty much dead within the first 2 shots. So that's also something to keep in mind. Weapons effective range. That's why like there's like Vandal and Phantom maps. I stick to Vandal because that's just personally my playstyle. But there's certain maps where you're probably gonna want to buy a Phantom. I think that Haven, certain ways you're gonna be playing it, you're probably gonna want a Phantom, because Phantom, honestly, a really good weapon. I just prefer Vandal. That's for me. Like Breeze and Icebox, in my opinion, are Vandal maps, because in these maps you're gonna be playing really, really long distances, and so you don't want that damage drop off. Whereas a map like Bind, Ascent, these gunfights are happening at a closer range, so Phantom is perfectly applicable. And with a lot of things that I'm gonna be like telling you guys, take everything I say with like a grain of salt. It's always gonna change map to map, situation to situation. I'm kind of just speaking in like broad terms. Like, let's say Bind. If you're gonna be playing and peeking B long, you're probably gonna want to go Vandal as opposed to a Vandal. A lot of this stuff is contextual, and it's gonna change game to game, situation to situation. This just kind of comes with game sense, and as like you get a better feel of each and every individual situation. Any questions? Good. Kind of on the topic of default, I'm just reading my notes. Don't feel the need to rush out rounds. You can always have certain plays where you hit a site fast just to throw things off, but like never feel a need to push and really, really force taking a site. Don't be afraid to fall back, regroup, and hit another site, or just run that default. A broad thing is just utility usage. One thing I noticed from KO, you had a couple knives where you were throwing A, which just kind of hit this wall up really close in A lobby. And it just really didn't clear sight at all. You didn't get a lot of information out of that. So just try to be a little bit smarter with your util usage. This goes for also really every agent. So Fade, try to get a good idea of where your eyeball is going to land. You don't want to land into a spot where it's not going to be giving your team a lot of views. Specifically for Haven, I wouldn't recommend throwing any scouting util on A long, because at most, or at least typically speaking, you're only going to catch out one person. To clear out A long, you want to use some other util. You want to flash it out, or you can just ignore A long and like have like a jet, or have somebody flash here and have everybody run short, right? Don't waste time using scouting info on A long. You want to save that for like site, where people are going to be playing, where you're going to probably tag 2 or maybe 3 people. On top of that, just a thing on KO, this is also going to extend to playing Breach, and also, who's the other one? Sky. Don't be afraid to use your flashes. Your flashes are really aggressive, and you need to learn to play these agents almost as pseudo-duelists because of their aggressive util. You can separate initiators into kind of 2 separate types. Aggressive initiators, like duelists, I call them duelist initiators, and then there's scouting initiators. Your scouters are like Fade and Sova, because their util isn't inherently aggressive. Like, they're not going to be getting you these aggressive pushes into picks. They're going to give you info on who's playing on site, as well as providing other utility for your team. KO still has scouting capability with his knife, but with his Molly and his flash, it makes him really aggressive. So they're kind of 2 different playstyles. I like to have a really big thing in the meta right now is running 2 initiators. Typically a scouting initiator and like a duelist initiator. So I like to use like KO's knife just for scouting purposes, because you don't pinpoint where people are with that ability. You just have an idea of where they are, a general idea. When it comes to the time where you want to hit that site, that's when I would use Fade's ability. That's when I would use Sova's dart, because that gives exact locations, and that's when you're going to want to push the site and hit it. Any questions? All right. Next thing, this one is really tough. I have this problem with my the Ascendant team that I coach because they're still new and getting to know each other, and they haven't had a lot of time to practice. But layering util and actually having like set strategies other than just kind of like, it's what I call like playing ranked. When you play these ranked games, you're getting into a lobby with 4 strangers, so you just have basic things like, hey, smoke regular positions, flash sight, and we'll just all W key onto sight. That works for ranked, but when you're playing against coordinated teams, it's not going to work so well. And so this is where newer teams struggle a lot because they haven't had the time to really come up with complete strategies and hitting sites. What makes coordinated team play so much different from just like competitive like solo queue, duo queue, Valorant is the ability to layer util and communicate really well as a team. You see this a lot in pro play. You'll see like if you narrow these agents down individually, sometimes when they're using util, it's kind of strange. But when you combine them all together, it just really forms an amazing push on the site where like every angle is cleared, everything is checked, and it makes it really hard for the defending team to do anything. So an example of this is like this would be really difficult to coordinate in just like a solo queue game. You have your smoke somewhere unconventional. Say they smoke your entrance onto site, right? Normally you wouldn't want to do that. But what that allows your team to do is push up into that smoke and everybody's coordinated, have, let's say, a Fade or a Sova throw either a Haunt or a Dart. And as that is about to land, that's when you have a teammate flash out of your smoke. What that does is it pretty much rushes the enemy team and they have to worry about not getting flashed. And if they get flashed, they're not going to be able to destroy the Dart or the Haunt, and that's going to give away exact positions. Your team rolls in and just cleans up sight. Either that or they just have to roll out of sight and you get a free sight. This isn't something I can really like teach in like one session because it takes a while to come up and go over and practice these strats. So as you all get to know each other and go on with your like competitive stuff, I would definitely set aside time to hold practices where you're just 5 stacking into a custom game against literally nobody and then just coming up with these strats and practicing them. And really focus on sending out this util in a manner that makes it really difficult to deal with. Like the previous example I gave, where this is where like layering util comes because you're sending this util out at the same time and it's really hard to deal with. Any questions with that? I know that was kind of like vague and a lot, but it's something that needs to be said and something that needs to be practiced.
No, I don't have any questions.
Check my notes. Okay. So, like I said, you probably don't need to have your teammate smoke. Let's say you're taking A. You probably don't need your teammate to smoke this. They're probably gonna have somebody smoke it for you. So, wait out their utility because they might be aggressive. They might throw mollies and other things through the smoke. And once like they stop spamming, that's probably gonna be when you want your team to creep up and take the control of that smoke. You want to be as close as possible so you can all hit it as a team. Ideally, you'd have somebody short. Let's just say Raze. Let's say you have Raze pushed up into sewers. So an example hit would be, okay, Raze is in sewers, everyone else is long. Raze throws Boombot to clear out the rest of short and push onto site. As she's doing that, have the Fade throw her Haunt like up here. And then right before that Haunt lands, have your flash throw a flash outside of the smoke relatively high up, and then as soon as that flash goes off and your Haunt targets people, that's when you push out as a team, right? Ideally, also you probably have smokes, covering heaven, and probably CT. Fade probably linger behind, so if you tag anybody, you can throw your Prowler at them to give more info to your team. But something like that, right? Because in that, like, once you get the hang of the timing of throwing out your util, the enemy team's gonna have to deal with a Boombot coming from short, getting scanned by Fade while also being flashed, and they're not going to have support from CT or Heaven because that's smoked. There's also other util you can throw on top of this, but that's just kind of like, you know, a basic one you can throw. Let's see. One more thing. I think I have one more thing. Yes, taking space. So this is like the last thing that I really had planned to talk about from what I saw from the tournament. Always think about what util you can be using to take space. Don't be afraid to use your utility to clear out areas, because a lot of the times you're gonna end up dead, and you're gonna still have that util. And like, yeah, you save it for the next round, but it did nothing for you that round. It didn't help you win that round at all. Sometimes you're gonna want to save util like for later in the round to try to win it, but if you're not even able to get later in that round, you might as well throw it earlier. So like using Ray's Boombot to clear sewers and get this pressure up all the way up here, right? Because her Boombot is such an aggressive tool. It's a free push, right? Same thing with like a Sky Dog or a Fade Prowler. You just throw it down like a corridor and clear it out, and then your team can freely take that space. Ray's nade is also good for clearing space.
Coach, could I ask if that same logic could be applied for KO's knife as well, considering it also could go down A short pretty well, and maybe clear out some campers near A short around like here and here.
Yeah, that works too. And really anything that will like hinder the opponent is a great way to take space. On the note of using KOs, I think that's perfectly fine if you're running a default, because you're really gonna want util like that when you hit the site. So if you're playing slow and you can afford the time to get his knife back through the cooldown, perfectly fine. That's why throwing like scouting util on a default early in the round is good, because you get early information, and then by the time you're ready to hit a site, you're gonna have that util back. I know for a fact, Fade can use her haunt 3 times in a match. You pop it early in the round, you pop it executing sight, and then pop it sometime during the spike plant. Fade is a really, really strong agent right now because her ability to do that 3 times and her util is really, really fucking strong and overpowered. So I would say while you can, probably abuse that. Yeah, so let's see. Really, the only agents that are really able to use aggressive util to take space are going to be your duelists and your initiators. Sentinel's stuff is inherently defensive, so it's harder to aggress with them. Controllers is hit or miss. You have mollies, but that takes away space from util. Mollies are good for clearing out like pocket angles, and of course playing post plant. Any questions? That's kind of like everything that I had for my observations from the tournament. It doesn't have to be questions about what I said. It can really do anything. All right. I don't know if y'all just kind of want to like play around in the custom and like practice some sight hits, or if you wanted to do the 5-stack right about now. It's really up to you where you want to go from here.
I could not care less. Oh.
So like the could we play competitive or?
5 of you could, yeah. You guys could 5-stack into a comp game.
How much are y'all at?
I'm at bronze.
I'm at 88.
Unranked.
I mean, I think it's silver through Iron can play together, no issues.
Really? Oh.
You want to try?
Yeah.
Nope, I don't necessarily want to 5-stack because I'm like so jittery because they're streaming a football game, but I can 5-stack later tonight.
Later
Oh,
tonight,
perfect
then?
timing. Shay just hopped in. She could possibly be the 5th person for the 5 stack. Hey Shay.
Hello, sorry I'm late.
No problem. How was work?
Work was work.
So we just got done with going over like some stuff that Coach Dave noticed, took notes on for last week's tournament. You weren't here for it, but we just finished up doing that, and we'll be going into a 5 stack just to practice some team cohesion and default strategy. Are you home?
Yeah. I'm
Okay,
home.
cool. I will invite you.
What account am I getting on?
Just your main account.
Well, they're technically both my main.
So you are gold.
Gold 2 on one and then silver 3 on the other.
Dave, would you actually recommend her get on her silver?
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, she might not be able to queue with everybody in their gold account.
Okay, so your silver account then.
I bet.
And then just drop your not your battle tag, your riot tag into the chat, and we'll add you. Actually, what the fuck?
I'm not gonna.
6 minutes.
I don't know when y'all are planning to practice next, but if there's nothing you have in mind, I can probably go over just like mechanics. That stuff being like movement, aim, and then combining the two.
Sure.
Sure, I might as well since we still. Yeah.
Alright, I'll be back
Yeah, I
on
just
later when
added
my
you.
internet is a little
Alright.
better.
No problem. Thanks for coming, AJ.
Rebels logging on. Give me a
Okay, no
sec.
problem.
Valorant hates me.
What?
All the smokes. Smoke off everyone, including yourself.
Just for future reference, if y'all ever have any questions, feel free to add me or DM me. I pretty much always have my phone on me.
Okay.
Wait, so what were the aiming and like movement tips?
I mean, I could do like a whole thing on that, but I mean, are you all familiar with like tap strafing?
Yes.
Yeah, counter strike.
Yeah, counter strafing. So that stuff. Jiggle peeking, shoulder peeking, jump peeking.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with it. Doesn't mean I can do it.
All right, yeah. So we could definitely go over that next time.
Oh, you left the log. Are you leaving already?
Oh no, I'm gonna hang out. I mean, if you guys want to do a little bit right now, I don't know when y'all are gonna. I don't know when y'all are gonna do the 5 stack.
I think Shay is getting on right now.
Yeah, I'm getting on now.
Wait, could you come back to see?
Yeah, I'll go back to 2.
I wanna test my jump
Wait.
spotting the
Wait.
empty.
Okay, never mind. Somebody was like, who was Fade during the tournament?
Me?
That was you?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I did notice you were doing like shoulder peeks and like jiggles and stuff, which was good, but they need work.
Yeah. Oops. Oh, you're gonna. Okay. I thought
So
you were gonna.
yeah, I'll go to where you are. So situationally, I noticed you knew when to do it, but like you weren't getting like full use out of it. You were doing it really close and you weren't getting the full use. So when you're doing like this jump or jiggle peek, where are you looking? Like when your eyes on the screen, where are you looking?
I'm looking like. Oh, I mean, don't you like use? I mean, I guess you use like your eyes and the map.
Yeah, so when you do this kind of peek, like never look at like where your character's looking. Keep an eye on the mini map, because even if you see just like somebody for a fraction of a second, it's gonna appear on the mini map and it's gonna linger for just a little bit.
So the map is better than like your eyes.
Yeah, because like sometimes you're gonna be missing. Because if your character, not necessarily you, like if on your screen you see just like a little bit, like just my shoulder, that's gonna show up on the mini map, but you might not notice that. What I noticed from your jiggle peeks is you weren't jiggling far enough, or like you weren't jump peeking far enough. Like you weren't getting the info from it. Like you would have gotten like what I noticed it specifically is when you're jiggling lobby A long. You were clearing just a little bit of it. You would have seen them if they pushed up, but you weren't getting the full picture. So that's probably when you're gonna want to do a jump peek because it lets you go out a little bit farther and it's really fast. For those who don't know how to do a jump peek to practice it, pretty much just run forward. Just run forward like full sprint and then jump, and then mid jump do a 180. Get a feel for that, and then once you do that, you can start not going as far and just trying to time it so you're mid-air when you're peaking whatever angle you want. You don't want to like go past, expose yourself, jump, and then swing back, because you're going to be really easy to hit. The point of a jump peek, also kind of a shoulder peek, is really only just expose as little of yourself as possible. Typically, they'll just see your shoulder swinging back. A shoulder peek also, almost like a jump peek, but like you really only expose your shoulder. That's mostly to like bait out shots. So if you know that you're there, you can like bait out a shot by just shoulder peeking. Like you won't see them, but they'll see your shoulder, and you can probably bait out a shot. I'll go over all of this like more in depth if you guys want to have like a full like session dedicated to mechanics.
I think that'd be actually really cool to do next team meeting.
Yeah, we can do that.
So could I test my jump peeking against you?
Yeah, I'm going to try to kill you though.
Yeah. Okay.
Some space.
Are you gonna peek?
Oh, you want me to peek you?
No, I want you to shoot me, but you weren't showing up on the map.
Oh, see, so you need to go further out then. Because I'm standing in the middle of long right now.
What? Okay.
Give him some space, probably. Let him practice.
What? But my map is like on the mini map. The white part is going like to the left corner, like all the way over here. But it doesn't like show you.
Do you still see me showing up on the map?
Now I did,
Yeah.
but it's like I have to go even further than that.
Still, like, if you're watching from my like point of view, I'm not only do I need to like react really fast, I also need to flick upwards.
Well, are you in Ghost right now, Andres?
No,
Oh. Nice.
I like I'm able to see with my eyes, but my map sometimes misses.
Oh my god, no. Oh yeah, jump peeking is really good for baiting out op shots.
Shoulder peek is a little bit safer, but you might not bait it out. Oh,
You wanna
also,
switch
when you're doing this peak, don't get into a rhythm because they'll pick up on that and they'll be able to time you. Like be a little strange with it, you know.
Oh shit.
That was mean. I'm sorry.
You guys haven't. Wait, how long have y'all been playing?
Since 2020, but on and off. But recently got back into it.
Okay. Op used to be so much stronger. I kind of miss it. There was a really common peak people would do where they just jump out with Op, and they would just shoot right afterwards. But they kind of nerfed the what is it, the accuracy reset from jumping.
Oh yeah, they do. So like take. Ooh. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, I got you. What is that?
Okay, so I'll keep shooting.
Oh, I'm so slow.
So that's kind of like I call it. It's like a movement and like just kind of a gameplay thing. But like, if you're contesting an op and you're doing this, you're hitting him with a jiggle. If you do that like 2-3 times, they're gonna start putting their crosshair really close to where you're peeking and try to kill you. That's when you want to hit him with a wide swing and then kill him.
Oh yeah, you're right. Because then they'll have to flick over, but then you might be able to peek them faster.
Yeah, it's something you kind of have. It varies from person to person. It's something you might have to practice, and depending on how well you deal with stress. But always like think about what you would do if you were in their situation. That'll help you read them and like what to do next. So when it comes to practicing just mechanics, I think the best thing you can do is go into deathmatch, because that's when you're going to be pairing your movement along with aim. You can't really do that with like aim round, you know, because you don't have balance movement. Ooh, not the slow. Yeah.
God. Oh, red. Got the red.
Lol. 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 Lol.
Oh, if you want to like solo carry games in like ranked, get really good at using the Marshall. Like Marshall's really strong.
If you can hit headshots.
Yeah, I guess so. But even then, hitting somebody in the body for 101, and if you can live out of that, that's huge for the team. Like, just leaving them with 49? That's awesome. My goodness.
My first ace of the day, let's go.
That's another thing. So I'm working on making just like a general, like, Valorant video for y'all. I was gonna include this. It's so easy to get caught up in the heat of the moment. Don't greed for kills. I caught a clip earlier of myself greeding for an ace, and I lost the round because of it. It's like, you know, you want these clippable moments, but like more than anything else, you want to win the game. You want to come out on top.
Yeah, no. Every single time I'm in comp, I'm like, I do not care for the ace, just kill them.
Yeah.
I will never greed for an ace.
Yeah. Your team sometimes will be like, hey, go for the ace, go for the ace. I'm like, just kill the guy. I
Just
wanna
kill
win.
the guy, please.
Exactly. Always think about winning the game first. But other than that, like, a good mindset to have is come out of every game learning something new. Don't get too bogged down with like, man, I want to win this game. I want to win this game. Instead, have the mindset of like, I want to like learn from this game. Where can I come out on top? Where can I improve? Because if that's the mindset you have, you're gonna start improving. You're gonna see where you falter, and from there you'll close those gaps, and you're gonna just start winning more naturally. Do you all know about the 3-4-3 rule?
Oh, Shay, are you able to join our custom?
I am unaware of that rule, just to answer the question.
So this isn't like a team thing. This is like a solo play thing. The 3-4-3 rule is just a thing to like keep your mental fine. It's where you're gonna win 3 games no matter what. Like out of 10 games, you're gonna win 3 of those no matter what, purely because your team is just better. Whether you have a Smurf on your team, whether the other team is just really, really bad and they're having an off day, but 3 times you're gonna win a game not because of you, because your team is just better. Out of 10 games, 3 you're going to lose for the opposite reason. Maybe your team's having a bad day, maybe they have a Smurf, or just overall they're just better players. Out of 10 games, 4 of them you're going to win because of you, the difference that you make on your team. Those are the 4 games that matter. What did you do right? What did you do wrong? So it's going to be like relatively easy to tell where it's like, yeah, we lost that game from the start. Like they were just better players. That's the 3-4-3 rule when it comes to really like any competitive video game.
Guess my luck is just as bad because I constantly get queued up against plat or gold Smurfs. It's great.
Yeah, that is. I think the lower ranks are definitely a little bit more difficult when it comes to like Smurfs and stuff. I don't know if it was somebody here, but I think it might have been. It might have been Dark Knight, where after the tournament game, you asked if I thought they were plat level players.
I think that was one of our subs.
Was it? Okay. It's hard to tell when skill gaps aren't close. If skill gaps are close and somebody's dominating, it's pretty easy to tell if someone's smurfing. But at a certain point, once the rank difference is enough, it's hard to tell how hard they're smurfing, right? So going into that plat team, I couldn't tell if they were like immortal or ascended smurfs. It was just a tough situation to be in because of like just the skill difference.
So I think everyone's online now. So who wants to do a 5-stack ranked?
I don't mind.
Me.
I don't mind.
Cool with that.
Okay, so we have 3. Shay and Big Papa, did you want to go into a ranked game?
I'm down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, cool. No pressure, but if you do want to, we could set that up.
Oh
Nice try.
So for this ranked game, I think I want to try to have Andres as the in-game leader doing shot calling. What was that, Andres?
Wait, you want me to?
I want you to try being IGL this game.
Shoot.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
one thing for IGL. IGL is more than just calling a strategy for the round, because there's always going to be issues, right? The IGL's job is to take whatever strat you have, take in whatever information they're given, whatever goes wrong, and dictate how the rest of the team should react and where you want to play it out from there. Just a quick side note.
Wait, can you say that again?
So the IGL's job is more than just to call out whatever strat you want for that round. It's taking in information you're given from your
Bro, my
team, from
PC.
yourself,
LMAO.
and using that information to dictate how the rest of the round should be played out. Because with these strats, like rarely is everything going to go perfect. Rarely are you going to get those flawless rounds over and over. So it's the IGL's job to take in this information and tell the rest of the team how you should proceed.
Basically, a constant shot caller that's adjusting to the situation.
All right, for the sake of your PCs, I'm restarting. There's too
For
many
the
bodies.
for the sake of our PCs. Oh, Lord.
I had my PC crash once because my friend trapped me with a Odin.
And then obviously this kind of goes without saying, but everyone else would be practicing listening to the IGL and doing your best to like, I guess, heed the IGL's advice. And then throughout, like as we do like different ranked games, like in the future, we could switch who's the IGL and who's like the rest of the team is playing.
Over.
But for this match, we'll put Andres as the IGL.
What the fuck?
Wait,
Oh,
I'll be
sorry,
like,
Jake.
What are y'all doing?
Sorry, Jake. We don't have room.
No, it's fine. No worries.
What are y'all doing?
Good
Don't worry
luck,
about it. Don't worry
ladies.
about it.
I
I'll
said
peek you.
see long. What the hell?
And see long.
What are you doing?
But
you're
how is
invincible.
this chamber? Wait. Hey, that's not a marshal. I'm at a disadvantage.
Wait, I'll be right
Alright.
back.
Sometimes you gotta do it. Sometimes you have a sheriff and you gotta take down the opera. You know, you gotta.
What? Don't make me do it.
Wait, who's Nilo?
That's
Couches?
couches.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, I'm see long. Whatever
Imagine
you
turning
need.
invulnerability
Oh,
on.
okay. Okay, I'm ready.
wait. So Couches, I know that I got confused and I thought you're in trials, but you're not. Are you still of rank that you would be queuing ranked with the team, or no? You're like much higher. Are you more like definitely like just want to be a coach type of thing? So if we were to ever do like ranked matches, you would be like a spectator. I guess is what I'm asking. Essentially, like if like yes, okay, cool. By default, like Dave and I are not in game, so I just wanted to make
Yo.
sure that you're the same.
Okay. Okay.
I'll turn off invulnerability. This is mean.
That's why.
Yeah.
God damn! I was like, I swear these should be hitting.
James. Are we still playing the comp match? I'm so confused.
I'm just staying in this game for anybody who's not playing a comp match.
Okay, I think everyone was going into a comp match.
I bet.
So if you guys want to leave if you guys are ready to do the rank game, you guys could leave the custom, and we could set that up. Essentially, Dave and I would have to leave the party. So there's not too many people. And couches, also.
My PC. My PC. Jesus Christ, my PC.
No.
Alright.
Is there a way to
Jesus.
spec? Guys, only. Yeah.